The story begins on a quiet Saturday afternoon, the kind that smells faintly of sun-warmed grass and coffee brewing in open kitchens. The boy, 24, arrives at his best friend's house like he's done countless times before. But this time, the friend isn't home yet. Instead, his mother answers the door. A 42-year-old woman with soft black hair tied loosely, her eyes reflecting both warmth and a trace of amusement. She stands framed by the light coming through the doorway, wearing a cream-colored blouse and jeans that fit her with unspoken confidence. "He's running late," she says, leaning casually against the doorframe. "But you can wait if you want." Her voice has a calm rhythm, not teasing, yet not indifferent either. He hesitates, though not because of the offer, but because of the quiet awareness that lingers between them. Inside, the air feels lived in. The faint hum of an old ceiling fan, the scent of citrus and linen, and the soft sound of a clock marking time. She moves around the room with the ease of someone who knows exactly how to fill silence, setting down her cup, picking up a book, occasionally glancing toward him as if to measure his comfort. He, meanwhile, finds himself noticing small details, how her laughter lines deepen when she smiles, the way her voice drops slightly when she's thoughtful, the quiet grace in her every movement. They talk, first about safe things, work, the weather, her son's usual laziness. But the conversation doesn't stay light for long. She asks questions that feel more personal than they should, about what drives him, what he's afraid of, whether he's ever truly been understood. It feels disarming, almost dangerous, but not in a way he wants to escape. When she laughs, it's quiet, the kind that comes from somewhere honest. "You've grown up," she says softly, her gaze lingering a moment longer than necessary. It's meant as a passing comment, but the way she says it carries something else, something unspoken, fragile, and new. The sound of footsteps outside breaks the spell for a moment. Her expression shifts, a half-smile that hides something. "You should probably pretend you didn't hear half of what I said," she murmurs, turning away just as her son's voice calls from the gate. But as the boy leaves that evening, the warmth of that brief exchange follows him, not like a memory, but like a beginning. The quiet pulse of curiosity has already taken root. That night, he lies awake replaying the moment her eyes met his. How she looked at him not as her son's friend, but as someone she hadn't expected to see in that light. It wasn't attraction alone. It was recognition. And for reasons he can't name, he knows he'll find an excuse to go back again. It's been a week since that afternoon, yet the memory of it clings to him. The sound of her voice, the gentle way she said, *, you've grown up. *, he tells himself he's just going back to hang out with his friend again. But deep down, he knows it's not the whole truth. Curiosity has turned into something quieter and heavier, a pull he can't quite name. When he arrives, the air feels different, not because of the weather, but because of her. She opens the door again, her expression caught between surprise and something softer. She's wearing a loose light blue shirt tucked into white pants, her hair slightly undone as though she'd been lost in thought before he knocked. "He's out getting groceries," she says with a small laugh. "You really have bad timing, don't you?" He shrugs, pretending not to care. "I don't mind waiting." She studies him for a moment before nodding, stepping aside to let him in. The same citrus scent hangs in the air, but now it feels warmer, familiar. The house is quiet, sunlight slipping across the wooden floor and catching the edge of her smile. They fall into conversation again, this time more easily. There's no awkwardness now, just that steady rhythm between them that feels almost like music. She tells him about a painting class she used to take, how she misses it. He listens, really listens, because her voice carries more than stories. It carries a quiet ache she doesn't show to anyone else. At one point, their hands brush when they both reach for the same mug. It's nothing, really, an accident, but the brief touch sends a small jolt through him. She feels it too. Her hand lingers for half a second longer than it should before she pulls back, looking down with a faint smile. "You really are trouble," she says under her breath, more to herself than to him. He laughs softly, but something in her tone stays with him. It's not disapproval. It's warning, one she's giving herself as much as him. The sound of her son's voice again cuts through the moment, this time closer, almost arriving. She straightens, her expression carefully composed. "Act normal," she says lightly, moving to pour water into a glass, as if nothing had happened. When her son walks in, the world resets, casual greetings, familiar jokes. Yet beneath it all, the silence between her and the boy hums quietly, a shared secret neither dares to name. As he leaves later that evening, she walks him to the door. "Next time," she says softly, "try not to come when I'm alone." Her tone is teasing, but her eyes say otherwise, a flicker of something she can't quite hide. And though he nods with a smile, he knows the next time will be exactly the same, because neither of them really wants to stop wondering where this is heading. Days pass, but her words echo in his head. Asterisk, try not to come when I'm alone. Asterisk, he tells himself to listen, to respect the line she's drawn, but there's something magnetic about her that keeps pulling him back. Not just her smile, but the way she sees him, not as a kid or a friend's tag-along, but as someone worth understanding. When he shows up again, it's a Sunday afternoon. The sun filters through the tall living room windows, throwing warm light across the floor. Her son's car isn't in the driveway. He hesitates for a long second before knocking, part of him hoping she won't open the door. But she does. Her eyes widen slightly, a mix of surprise and amusement flickering there. "You don't listen very well, do you?" she murmurs, though her voice lacks the edge it should have. "Guess I never learned how," he replies, half smiling. She sighs, stepping aside. "Then I suppose I'll have to teach you." It's meant as a joke, but the air between them shifts as soon as he steps inside. There's no noise, no chatter, just the quiet rhythm of two people who both know they shouldn't be here, alone, yet can't seem to help it. She's in a soft cream sweater and fitted jeans, her hair loosely tied back, a few strands escaping near her face. The simple domesticity of it, her barefoot on the wooden floor, a coffee mug in hand, feels strangely intimate. He watches as she moves around the kitchen, graceful without trying, every small action deliberate and calm. She pours him coffee, even though he didn't ask for any. "You always look like you're thinking too much," she says, setting the cup down in front of him. "What goes on in that head of yours?" He laughs quietly. "You'd probably say I'm too young to think about it." Her brow lifts slightly at that. "Try me." He meets her gaze then, steady, unflinching, and for a moment, the space between them feels charged. Not with words, but with everything they're both too careful to say. The kind of silence that feels louder than sound. She's the one to look away first, a small, uneasy smile touching her lips. "You shouldn't be so serious," she says softly. "You'll make people think you mean it." "Maybe I do." That makes her pause. Her hand stills midair, the faintest flicker of emotion crossing her face, surprise, guilt, maybe even longing. Then she lets out a quiet breath and changes the subject, but the tension lingers, like a note that refuses to fade. Before he leaves, she stands by the door again, leaning lightly against the frame. "You're dangerous," she says, voice barely above a whisper. "Why?" "Because you make me forget how old I am." He doesn't know what to say to that. So he just smiles and walks away, knowing full well he'll be back again, because something between them has already started that neither can pretend away anymore. It's been a week since that Sunday, but every small moment replays in his head. The way her voice softened when she said, asterisk, "You make me forget how old I am." Asterisk, it wasn't just a compliment or confession. It was something deeper, a quiet truth neither of them were supposed to acknowledge. He tries to stay away. He really does. But life has its own sense of humor. Her son invites him over again for a group study session. When he arrives, the house feels too familiar, like every corner remembers him. And when she appears from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel, that familiar ache returns instantly. The pull he can't explain. She's wearing a casual blue blouse and a light skirt, her hair down this time, falling over her shoulders like a slow wave. The color brings out the warmth in her skin and the small lines near her eyes when she smiles. "You again," she says lightly. "Guess I should start charging you rent." He grins, trying to keep things normal. "Depend what the room comes with." Her eyes flick toward him, a second too long before she turns away. Smart mouth, she mutters, half under her breath. Later, while the others are focused on their laptops in the living room, he steps out for air. The house is quiet beyond the sound of the ceiling fan and distant voices. Then, from behind, he hears her say softly, "You always disappear when it gets too crowded." He turns. She's standing by the kitchen counter, holding a glass of water, looking at him like she's trying to read him. He shrugs. "Guess I like quiet places." She sets the glass down. "Or maybe you like being seen where no one's watching." The words land somewhere between playful and dangerous. For a moment, neither moves. He watches as her fingers brush the countertop, as if searching for something to anchor herself. He steps a little closer, not touching, just close enough to feel the warmth radiating between them. "You told me to stay away," he says quietly. "But you don't really want me to, do you?" Her breath catches barely. "You're imagining things," she whispers, though her tone betrays her. "Then why are you shaking?" She looks down at her hands, realizing he's right. A faint tremor lingers where she grips the counter. "Because you shouldn't talk like that," she murmurs. "You don't understand what this could do." "Understand exactly what this is," he says, voice low. It's not wrong to feel something real. For a long second, she looks at him, really looks, and everything she's been holding back is written in her eyes. Fear, longing, guilt, desire. Then, with a trembling breath, she steps back. "Go back to your friends," she says softly, "before I forget where the line is." But as he turns away, her voice follows him, barely audible, almost like she's speaking to herself. "I wish you didn't make it so hard to remember." The night feels different before it even begins. Maybe it's the air, thick with the faint sweetness of spring rain, or maybe it's the quiet hum beneath his skin that hasn't left him since the last time they spoke. He hadn't planned on coming by again, but her son invited him to a small get-together. A few friends, a few drinks, nothing serious. When he arrives, the lights are soft, and the house carries that familiar scent, warm vanilla, faint perfume, and something uniquely her. She greets everyone politely, her smile calm and practiced. But when her eyes find his across the room, there's a pause. The rest of the world fades for a second. The tension that's been quietly weaving itself between them for weeks returns like a pulse, subtle, constant, undeniable. He tells himself to play it cool, stay normal. But his eyes keep finding her, in the kitchen, by the doorway, laughing at something someone said. Every time she moves, he feels the magnetic pull of her presence. Later, when most of the guests leave, it's just a handful of them sitting around. Lazy conversation, music humming low. Her son disappears upstairs to grab something, and for the first time that evening, it's just the two of them again. She sits on the edge of the couch, her legs crossed, one hand resting lightly on her knee. "You've been quiet tonight," she says softly. He shrugs, smiling faintly. "Didn't want to say something I shouldn't." Her eyes lift, curious. "And what shouldn't you say?" He meets her gaze. "Anything that makes you blush like that." The faintest color rises in her cheeks. "You think too much of yourself," she whispers, though her voice lacks its usual edge. He leans forward slightly, elbows on his knees. "Maybe, but I've been right before." The air between them shifts. The silence stretches, not awkward but electric. Outside, the rain begins again, tapping softly against the windows. She glances toward the sound, then back at him. "You're playing a dangerous game." "Then why are you still sitting here?" he asks quietly. Her lips part, but no words come. Her fingers brush against the fabric of the couch, restless. He watches, noticing the slight tremor in her hand, the same one from before. He stands up slowly, and for a heartbeat, she doesn't move. He takes a step closer, close enough to feel her breath. "You can tell me to stop," he murmurs. She exhales, eyes flicking down, then back up, unsure, yet unwilling to pull away. "You should," she whispers. "But do you want me to?" The question lingers, heavy and fragile. Her eyes close briefly, as if searching for strength or permission. When she opens them again, something in her has softened, surrendered. Her voice is quiet, barely a whisper. "You make it impossible to think straight." And though nothing happens, not yet, The air between them feels like the edge of something neither of them can undo. Morning light filters through her curtains, golden and calm. Yet feels nothing like calm inside. He wakes before anyone else. The house silent, the air thick with the memory of last night's closeness. Nothing happened, not really, but the look they shared, it was enough to change everything. He sits at the edge of the guest bed, running a hand through his hair, trying to steady his thoughts. The sound of the kettle downstairs breaks the quiet. She's awake. He hesitates before going down, telling himself it's just coffee, just polite conversation. But his chest tightens anyway. When he steps into the kitchen, she's there, back to him, hair slightly messy, robe loosely tied. Sunlight glows against her skin, tracing the soft outline of her shoulders. She doesn't turn around right away. "You're up early," she says, voice quiet, controlled. He smiles faintly. Couldn't sleep. She finally faces him, holding 2 cups of coffee. Her expression is calm, almost too calm. "You shouldn't have stayed last night." "I know." A pause. The kettle clicks off, leaving them in stillness again. She sets his cup on the counter. "You're a good kid," she says softly, though her voice trembles slightly on the last word. "But this, whatever this is, it shouldn't happen." He looks at her, really looks at her. The faint circles under her eyes, the tension in her jaw, the way she avoids his gaze, as if afraid of what it might reveal. "Then tell me you don't feel it," he says, "and I'll leave. I swear." Her eyes finally meet his, and for a heartbeat, the world holds still. She opens her mouth, but no sound comes. Instead, she looks down, her fingers tightening around the cup. He takes a step closer. Not enough to touch, but enough that she feels his presence. "You can lie if you want," he says softly. "But I already know." The words hang between them, fragile, dangerous. She exhales shakily. "You're too young to understand what this means." "Maybe," he says. "Or maybe you're too scared to admit what you want." Her eyes flash, not with anger, but something deeper. Pain, longing, the kind that's been buried too long. "You don't know what I've given up to have peace," she whispers. "And you're making me question it all." He swallows hard. "Then maybe peace isn't what you need." The silence that follows is raw, almost unbearable. Finally, she takes a breath, her voice barely above a whisper. "If anyone finds out, they won't," he says firmly. She looks at him again, and this time, her resolve cracks. The tiniest smile, sad and knowing, curls at the corner of her lips. "You don't realize it yet, but you're the dangerous one." He steps back, his heartbeat wild in his chest. And as he leaves the kitchen, her words echo in his mind, not as a warning, but as a confession she didn't mean to make. The rain starts just as he steps off the porch that evening, soft at first, then heavier, like the sky itself can't hold back anymore. He turns once, glancing at the warm light spilling through her kitchen window, knowing he should keep walking, knowing if he turns back now, everything changes. But he does. Inside, she's standing near the window, arms folded, eyes distant, like she's fighting herself. The sound of the rain against the glass fills the silence between them. He steps closer, his voice low. "If I walk away now, is that what you want?" Her lips part, but she doesn't answer. Instead, she looks away, shaking her head slightly as if words might betray her. He moves closer still, until the faint scent of her perfume mixes with the damp air from the open door. "Say it," he whispers. "Say you want me to leave." She exhales, a trembling breath that gives her away. "You shouldn't be here. But you didn't say you want me gone." Her eyes lift to his, and for the first time, all the restraint, the guilt, the self-control, it all breaks. She reaches out, her hand finding his wrist. "This isn't fair," she murmurs, voice trembling. "You make it too hard to do the right thing." He closes the distance, not in recklessness, but in quiet understanding. The storm outside becomes a soft hum, and for a long moment, they just stand there, her hand still holding his, her heartbeat visible in the pulse of her throat. "Then stop pretending it's wrong," he says. "You've been pretending since the day we met." Her expression softens, a slow, defeated smile, but one filled with warmth. "You think I don't see what you're doing?" "I'm just being honest," he says. You taught me that. She lets out a quiet laugh, tired, emotional. You're too good at learning the things I never meant to teach. A beat passes. The air shifts, heavier now, but full of something alive, something real. Finally, she whispers, I can't promise you forever. He shakes his head. I'm not asking for forever. Just now. And that's all it takes. The tension that's been pulling them apart for weeks finally gives in. Her hand slips into his, not in passion, but in peace. The kind that comes from surrendering to what the heart already decided. The rain outside fades to a soft drizzle. Her voice breaks the silence one last time. I never thought I'd feel this again, she says, her tone gentle, almost a confession. He smiles faintly. Maybe you were just waiting for someone who wouldn't make you hide it. She doesn't answer. Instead, she looks at him for a long, unbroken moment. A look that says everything words can't. Then, finally, she whispers, no more pretending. And for the first time since they met, the quiet between them feels right. Not forbidden, not reckless, but deeply, achingly human.